გამოვა გნახავ.
წითელი საბზირო ჩავიცოცხლ ძმაო
მოგსაეს
მაგარი საბზირო ხარ ჩავიცმაო ბიჭო სემიჩკა დავყარო სემიჩკა ჩაცოცხული ვარ ბარემ და სემიჩკაც ხო არ დავყარო იმენა რა მე ხა რამდენად დავეტევი ამაზე ბიჭო მე დავეტიე და შენ როგორ მე დაეტიე და შენზე პატარა ხოლმე თან შენზე დიდი გამოცდილება აქვს სიმსუქეს ხო შენ რო გაგიცანი არ იყავ მე რო გამიცანი იმენა ის ქიმიებიც არ მქონა დალეული ახლა ჩუპია მოგჭირეს ახლა იმენა
არა პირვადის მოხსას არ ვქნას
პირვადე რატო კიდე საბზირო არის
ხო მარტივი იქნება რომ
პირდაპირ ეგრევე
საბზირო ძალიან ბიჭო
სხვები სადა
რენდერებულ პირვადებს ჩამჩვენდი და უნდა მომიტანა ყოველთვის და გამს კომპანიამ ქართულ კომპანიებთან ცოტა ხო ანუ ეგ უცებ ისე მოდი რა იცი მაინც რო აუ რას ამბობ მასე არ ხოდილამდე შეიძლება გავჭერდეთ ჩვენ არა ხო ჩვენ ვაკონტროლებთ მაგას ანუ მაინც ვფიქრობ რომ კაიქება თუ დამიწერ რა გინდა ზუსტად თქვა Biennial-ზე თუ Biennial-ზე ან
რამდენი ხანში მე არა
თუ გინდა გამიგზავნე ხო
დაისკენ
Spider-Man-ს გუში ვეძებდი მეთქი რამე მინდა ცოტა თემატური და ფერში რო ჩაჯდეს
არა მე არა ვსახებ საერთოდ ესტონე ვარ ჩვენთან ესტონე ჩალიში ათის მერე დალევა არ შეიძლება
პატარა მიკროფონი შენი იქ უნდა იყვირო ემოში სად დაждები
ჩავდი კალიში ერთი გამთავს მოგმენ ეს კამშერები საპუსკები დავიწყე და კაი მიიღო რა უნდა შეხვიდე ეგრე სუპერმარკეტში და პირდაპირ ეგრე კაცული ღვინის იმენა ის არა
მე ვარ განსაკუთრებული
რა საქმეა მაგას გონი საპუსკები დავიწყე 10 მილიონი სოფიტისოდ გაჩნდა რა არა ქალაქში ტალინში სუპერმარკეტში შევიდე კანონიკო ხო ეგეთი როდის შარშა რა სანდუქ რა შარშა კანონიკო და წო იმენა ოქტომბერში
ანუ გამოვიდე და ჯობია და ხო ეგ არა უშვის So this live stream is made possible in the framework of Tbilisi architecture Biennial in collaboration with the platform Between Conditions.
ხო აბა აი მე რო გამოვიდე კიდე რო არა რო არის წინადი ერთი ბოთია ხო ეს მიკროფონი დისტრაქცია შოა
ხო, ნუ უკეთესი იქნება. თუ გინდა.
ცოტა ხوار დავეშოროთ.
აქედან სპეციალურად დიდი რომ შეუხდი. ამით იგებენ ხოლმე აი დიდი სცენები.
დაახლოებით 1 საათი, ხო და შემინდია უბრალოდ რაც პროპერიოტულად შავთვლი, შემინდია რაღაც კითხვებს მიუყვე და რაღაც კითხვები გამოვთო, უფრო მარტივად ვიზოთ. ანუ ჯერ გითხავ რომ თავისთავი გააცნონ, სანამ პანელზე დავიწყებთ, ანუ ერთი-ორი სიტყვა რო თქვას მოვამ, მე ვარ ეს ამას ვაკეთებ და
რატო ამოვიდა ხალხი რა?
ხო, და მე გადავალთ კითხვებზე. შუაში მაშინ ხო, ეგრე დავშნებ.
ლემონდუდან მოსულიყო.
ან გვერდზე ხო არ დავსვა ჯობია იდეაში და მე აქ დავждევ თქვათ. უფრო ლოგიკური არის, კი?
ლემონდოში
შენს გარდა მგონი არა.
არა, რადგან ის გორგასალის ხო არა.
ვინა?
იქ რო დაждე საშა? გვერდზე რო დაждე და მე აქეთ
აბა გორგასალის.
უფრო ლოგიკური იქნება.
გონი. ქვია მგონი, არა?
გორგასალის
აი დაჯერდა.
გეიმ თამაშები.
ხო, ბორდგეიმი თამაში ხო.
გეიმზე
ანუ ჯერ აუდგე და მე დავждეთ როგორ ქნა.
ვაფშე იცეკვე. აი აქ გადექი და იცეკვე.
შენ გეხერხება ეგეთ რაღაცაა.
ეხ კარგად მოდი მაშინ დავждები რა ჯობია. უფრო მარტივი იქნება.
ეს უნდა იყენოს.
კარგი ჩანს.
ჩემ ხმა
Very intimidating microphone.
ძალიან ახლოს დგას.
აი ხლა იმენა უკეთეს გაიწოს და უფრო ყავის უფრო დივანი
გისმენ
ვიღაცა შემაგეს ხელის დასოლებული ხელი რაღაცა ბრიკანი აბა ბიჭებო დაურა
ეს მიკროფონი
კავკარლებ? კი, კი. მე სულ კავკარ ჩარში ვჩერია. ნერვები მაქვს არა უშე.
I will come to you with a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, we still need to do that. დავიწყოთ? There was Sukan Sichu.
ინგლისურად ქართულად.
ინგლისურად, მაგრამ ქართულად მიწერია კითხვები რაღაც, მაგრამ მე ინგლისურად დაგისვათ ყველაფერს კითხვას და ინგლისურად ხო შეგიძლიათ საუბარი.
Me? No.
ხო, გითხრეს მაგაზე ინგლისურად ვაკეთეთ. გიგე. კაი, მაშინ ამას მე დავიდებ აქ, ყველაფერს გადავამოწმებ უცბად და დავიწყოთ? Hello and welcome to our live stream. Today we're going to talk to you about game development in Georgia, and this live stream was made possible in collaboration with In Between Conditions in the framework of Tbilisi Architecture Biennial. Today we're going to talk to you about Georgian game industry. We have some of the veterans and experts from the industry of Georgia. We're going to ask them questions about what they've been working on, what they've been doing, and also introduce you to some of the work we've been making. Before we get into it, I'd like to ask our participants to introduce themselves in very short words. What do you guys do? What's your name? Tell the public about what you do. We can start with Alex.
Okay. Hello, my name is Alex. I'm a lead developer at Stormberg Studio. I represent my company, our company, kind of like, and basically we work on, we work on mobile PC and VR games, mostly players, shooters, kind of experiences and stuff like that. So that's kind of like overall like Stormberg Studios.
You'll probably tell us more on the way about the work you've been doing. Beso, if you may.
Beso, I'm a sound designer and the founder of the company Postred. So in Georgia, like I'm the guy who does sound for video games, I would say, and also my company has like our company has this brand new department. I would say it's a new brand, Post-Red Play, where we started developing video games. So, yeah, that's it so far.
And Sasha?
Yeah, I'm Sasha. I represent Happy Bet company here. I'm a marketing specialist and a game designer. We mainly in the past we did some VR games. Currently working on mobile titles and PC games for the PC platform.
Thank you. So before we get into it and I start asking you a bunch of questions about your work, I wanted to mention a bit about our platform, Georgian Game Industry, and what we've been doing past couple of years. As our goal and our mission is to help the industry grow. Georgian game industry, as you might know, is pretty small, or as you might not know, and we're all trying to sort of put our work into it and help it grow together. And that's the idea of our platform, that we get together, we make events, we connect people, we try to share information. Basically, we work together so we can put Georgia on the global map of game development, and also help the industry sort of get out there in the society and teach people about the kind of work we do. And that's why we're also sharing with you all this information today, so you can learn about these developers that are growing the industry in Georgia, I would say. Supporting, and you're being part of it, which is really nice, and I think you guys do great work. So before, basically, it's interesting to kind of talk about how things started in the past in Georgia when it came to game development. So the first question I want to get into is, when did the industry really start? At least from your perspective, when did the movement start of developing games in Georgia? And if you can tell us about one of the first games that were developed back then, when it was, and if you can basically share also what the reception of society was when you guys made these games in the past. So when did it all start? Maybe Alex, you can start with that.
So as I remember, the first Georgian company, like not to talk about our company and stuff like that. So first company was Vertex, back in the old days, like 2006, 5, 7 or something like that, like old time. And they were making like first commercial games for PC. And they made like Butterfly Escape, World of Aces. There was like the plane shooter or something like that. They were like super good company, like awesome company. At that time they were like making really good money, and they had like really good people working there. Like some of them are working right now with us, and that was like the first company. And I think that everything started from them, and then the first steps were when in 2010. This Georgian police game came, you know. Everyone was just like, it's kind of like gathered all the people who were like, most of them were working like in the marketing, or some of them were modelers, animators, they were programmers and stuff like that. But this was like the break point where everyone, like the team of 30 people or something like that, they were like gathered and they started to work on the game, non-commercial game. Yeah, we all know, but it was the game. It was the first kind of like shooter, you know, like FPS shooter on the PC. Bad or good, it's a different story, but it was the first point, I think. Like maybe some other.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear your story, and
yeah, that's how I saw and how I was involved in this kind of the industry.
Cool. That's a nice story. So if you want to say a bit about that.
Well, I cannot say different story because that was the story, I guess. Because like I joined Georgian game industry a bit later, so this police game was already over. That party who made the police game was over, and so there was Stormbringer Studios. There was also Lemondo. There was a couple other smaller studios. So it was the first era of game jams. I think it was second game jam when I came back. So when I came back to Georgia, I contacted the Stormbringer guys. I was like, hey, what are you doing? They were like, okay, we are doing this game jams and stuff. And then I joined them. First Georgian game I did was with George Abelashvili. Those are two brothers, geniuses. One is in Ubisoft now, another one is in DICHO Games.
Yeah.
So that was the first like and there was a lot of games were made. Stormbringers you guys were working on
Yeah.
like 10 games, I think, during that time. One of the biggest ones I remember was this steampunk game.
Yeah, that's kind of like steampunk, and then we will switch to the
Yeah,
VR and
yeah.
stuff like that. So this
And Le Monde was making more of commercial, like mobile games.
Yeah.
Like, first game I did was Alter World, I think. It was a game jam game, then it
Then
got finished.
yeah.
And then I did, then we did this Wing Kings, which
and
we
a lot of
did.
stuff with the guys, with the Georgian.
Yeah. I was helping them with this game jam stuff, like sounds, and then I worked with a couple of games with Le Monde. There's Stormbringers and Le Monde was two biggest companies when I
Back in the
joined.
days, yeah.
Yeah, back in the days, and right now there's a lot of companies. What I've seen, I was on the game jam lately, and I've seen there's a lot of smaller Georgian video games are made, and I'm really happy about it. But
Yeah, it's definitely growing, and we'll get to that also with some other questions and
Yeah,
how
for
things
sure.
will progress in the future, which is pretty interesting. And Sasha, what do you think? Do you have any?
Considering to them I'm a baby in this case because
The
I
youngest,
joined.
yeah.
No, I've had my interest in the industry for quite some time, but like diving into the Georgian atmosphere just happened 3 years ago. As I started working at Happy Bad. Before it, I was quite clueless. I knew about Stormbringers, and to me, they were kind of like the beginning. But I feel like back then it was very, like there was a stigma of it being very childish. I think like majority of countries face it, especially those who work in a game dev. And especially in today's when somebody goes, yeah, I want to be a game developer, go do some backlog or something. I don't know. But like movement as a movement, when I started seeing like a lot of people doing some random stuff, and it doesn't even matter if they're collaborative or if they're in the sense of a company or just like pure individuals doing some random stuff. I think it's pretty much started like 3-4 years ago when like real
The game
influx.
jams like kind of like started all this kind of things.
When real influx came in, and there was a lot of people. Like even now, I cannot even keep track of people and the companies of developers and who are even.
It's growing,
so,
it's
growing pretty fast.
That's kind of like the whole like the story, and there was like after that stories and like after these companies and stuff like that, all of this like Beso said, like Le Monde was one of the biggest company that they were making like especially mobile games back in the from 2010. They were like doing this like really good job, They were like working like a lot of our friends. They were working and making like really good games, on the mobile, but it's kind of like really pushed. That
commercial.
There was like that was the commercial. This was the only point when the Polish game was and it was like the only place where you can go and like do the commercial game, On the mobile, like really good games, and to have that kind of experience, like to get from that guys, like to when you can publish your game, not kind of like doing like peer-to-peer like kind of things, It's like kind of like publishing on the store and doing all this kind of stuff. So they were like really good and are really good right now also.
There was also one company, it's still active. I did a game with them, it's called Up Idea. Those guys are cool. They have like some cool stuff going on. I think they're 100% mobile.
Yeah, they are mobile.
Because Le Monde then started like Wing Kings. Was it Wing
they
Kings?
were like
when they switched to Nintendo and PlayStation.
Yes, they did that.
And then we did this Toon Wars movie. And they released, I was not on that one, but they released this Medulla game.
Medulla,
they did like Le Monde,
And the biggest game was like the one you had, right? What was it like? It was some kind of Minecraft kind of similar to, or there was a game which really blew up. It was on torrents and stuff like. What was the name? It was Stormbringers video game. You did it like a couple of years ago.
I did it like VRC. Most of
VRC.
This is like the VR game, like the survival game that we did. Like it was like one of the biggest games that we did probably on PC. And it's like kind of like did all the VR kind of things. So all the company was like really passionate about the VR and stuff like that. And in the time that we did, and that pushed like kind of it. No, the guys we are doing also.
Yeah, we lost our steam straight away. After a couple of VR games, we're like, done, okay, fine,
Yeah,
moving on.
Because I think VRZ was the most loved by enthusiast video gamers.
Yeah,
like
that was
guys
the beginning. It was
who really
like
like playing video, not the mobile and this more commercial stuff, but like really enthusiastic people about the games and new stuff.
yeah,
You know?
that's-
But as I know, I've heard somewhere that you did it on a commercial side, like for example, for like real experience, but you didn't go like on a full scale market stuff, because like on YouTube there wasn't really much happening.
Yeah, there was
with
like
it.
kind of like when you see right now, there was like in the first like times there was like hitting like really good numbers and stuff like that. There was like the streamers streaming all these kind of things. We did like updates and stuff like that. The game was like it's already like live, and it's like also right now you can download and buy it. And then we switched to the commercial side. You know, there's the arcades and stuff like that, and promoting there. And they were like switching like back all the day. You know, where you're going like the computer center, so you're playing on the arcade machines and stuff like that. That's that kind of the things, you know. So that's why we like switched on this kind of the side, and we were just supporting that kind of things, you know. It's kind of like really Steam is the Oculus like switched, and then like blew up that there was like too much SDK, too much like content, and you need like to support and port and do all this kind of things. It's like kind of like different thing on the VR. It's like total different thing than the PC and mobile games, you know.
So talking about these games, to the public watching, are there any games you would recommend, specifically Georgian games, that you would want people to try and play? If there's any
VRZ.
VRZ.
And Vikings.
Vikings, Medulla.
Is
like
I did not play it much, but it's what I played. It's
kind of
pretty
like,
awesome.
yeah, it's kind of like really good mix, kind of, you know. So it's for the people who loves that kind of the puzzle-ish, limbo stylish games.
It's
you know?
also visually very appealing, right?
Yeah, that kind of things. Like there's like a lot of other games. I think there was like, should I remember? Someone did like really good game about. The 2D game, I don't remember the name, you know. There was like the 2D games that a lot of people were like playing on the mobile. It's the mobile game, but I don't remember the company or the guy did it. I know that there is like one guy, Shota.
Shota.
Yeah, the awesome, really awesome like games on Steam. He has like really good, and on itch.io and stuff like that. There's like he's like blowing that kind of the genre that he's representing. It's like completely like really good, because he has like really good publicity, and the people who plays it like loves it and stuff like that. So that's really awesome things. You know?
He calls it Shotix.
Shotix, yeah. Because I saw, and it was like, oh shit, it's like kind of like really awesome things that he's doing, you know.
He's a one-man army too.
Yeah, it's one man. That's why I said like, it's not a company, but one guy who is like, and this kind of things that happens, that the people who are starting working and are interested in the games and basically what we did and what we love, you know, all the guys who are here and probably all the Georgian game dev, it's kind of really friendly, like super friendly. I'm just like really heartwarming things that it's, you know, everyone helps each other in the group and stuff like that, and the young people who are starting this moving, and that's what makes like really awesome things. That's what gives you the push that you're doing not like something like the different, you know, you're doing the right thing.
That's true, and it's very motivating to see other people do great work as well.
And about the games, Mad Farm 2, shameless plug.
Mad Farm 2, okay. That's a VR game, right?
Yeah. Well, we are waiting the new part of that game.
No, not happening.
Not happening.
It's a buried story now.
At least you did the first one, right?
Yeah, at least we did the first one.
So, do you think there's any, I don't know, anything in terms of when you think of like our cultural identity, are there any elements when we make games that we put into, like you could say, this game is a Georgian game, or is that something that we don't have yet, or it's not developed yet?
No, I think that we don't have that kind of. I don't remember. I don't want to insult anyone or something like that. But
of course, I mean, the question is to you.
Yeah,
so.
it's kind of like
you know.
I don't remember that we have that kind of the Georgian, like to say that this game is the Georgian game.
That's what we're doing this with Post-Red Play. Me and Luca, I think he's gonna be the next panelist. We're doing this video game called Lile. So it's gonna have a lot of like, and also with as far as music goes, right now we try to like do this Western kind of style music, but always put some
Part of the Georgian
music stuff. Like so, because like we try to do it with sound, even with movies and stuff, because we want to push some Georgian identities into the pop art, you know. But we are still developing as an industry, so I think it's pretty early to say that we don't, like, our culture is like, it started in 2013, like as a movement, right?
Yeah.
So it's been 7 years, and it's still, we had some downfalls, you know. It's still hard, like.
That's actually really nice that you mentioned it, because my next question was about, you know, seeing how the industry has been developing over the years. What do you think are the issues that we're encountering at the moment that maybe, you know, slows down the process of development? If you could mention a couple, because talking about these issues, then we can talk about solutions potentially in the future. So if you would see that, okay, you know, you think this is a problem or this needs fixing, what do you see that in the industry as a whole?
Oh, I have a lot of things to say about that.
Keep it civil, please.
Well, for example, from the recent proposition of Happy Bad, but just I will just first say a little bit personally we would encounter, and then like what I kind of see in a global scheme for many developers. First of all, it's lack of professionals. As funny as it sounds, I remember when I was with you in Netherlands when the situation was kind of vice versa, when developers were very hard to grasp, but everyone was a creative one. Like concept artists, 3D modelers and stuff like that. In here, these people are an incredible shortage. Like starting with an animations to make a good animation, making then going to the 3D guys who can literally copy what the concept is. The concept artists don't even make me started on those people. So it's very hard to find them, and then you kind of hit a nail at the point when you cannot find them. You hire somebody who has the potential to become one, and then it's kind of goes into the situation when you kind of waste a lot of time training them, and even if you wanted to make some kind of project and make it to a certain degree of production and polish, it's certainly kind of impossible for you to do because, like, well, he's still in his studying process. So that puts a lot of limiters. Another many limiters are that people are not, unfortunately, are not able to experiment for themselves. There's a lot of people who get kind of, you know, inspired by other developers' stories and by the things how they were making it. And it's kind of sad because majority do not realize that this is also 1 in a million, and for you it's not the greatest idea to copy their experience just for the fact that these guys are 1 in a million because you haven't heard the other stories that failed with the same approach.
So they see success stories and they try to imitate this.
Yeah, and they try to imitate those success stories, and then it's not really working. Like, fortunately, for example, for a little bit more bigger studios such as Lemonda, for example, Happy Bet and so on, who have the resources to do their own experiments and stuff, we can do it without much of a punishment and see for ourselves. And then also many people get some messages, so to say, diverted. It's very hard when you're a developer because, like, you make a game either for your own satisfaction, which is, yeah, cool, or you make a game to make a living out of it. And the problem is you're an IT guy who has nothing of marketing or how to sell a game.
So a lack of knowledge on the commercial side.
Yeah, on the commercial side, and then again you go to the internet, but also nobody gonna put their secrets out of how they're doing stuff in business. So you may hear the knowledge, oh, start preparing your campaign like 3-6 months before the launch. Okay, how do I do that? You need to make, like, the information is very vague, and it's very hard to pinpoint down on what's
because there's no answer for it. Like, it always makes me laugh that 10 things successful people do. First is always waking up early, like, fuck that shit. Like,
no, it's like really kind of things about the Georgian industry and this kind of the community. Why there are like really small amount of the people and stuff like that. The lack of the amount of the people is like the number one problem, and there are like most of the people who are, most of the companies that are right now present here in Georgian game, they have like these resources. Really small amount of the company has the resources, that, such as that, to experiment, to like get some guys who are passionate about, they have some kind of the skills and train them and get that kind of, because you spend a lot of money on that kind of things, you know. And this kind of the situation, the people, the younger ones, they are like seeing that some guys did this kind of the game and it was like really good and stuff like that, and when they hit that kind of the wall where there is like the lack of this kind of the resources where you can go and for free or maybe even pay and get the not kind of the, like the degree or education or something like that, the chance to like grow and stuff like that, it's like really a small amount. That kind of places we are like really, we had that kind of the game dev kind of, not university but the course, and we were like teaching like everyone who wanted like to come and learn, we were like giving it for free and stuff like that, and it's kind of like started and then it was like ended and stuff like that. So like this is like of the
that was the game lab?
Game lab, yeah. That was the point. These kind of things need to have way more people to involve. You cannot get like from air, you cannot get like the professional game devs, you know. You need like some place where you start teaching them, where you share your experience, not on the web pages and on the groups and the videos and stuff like that. As I said, it's kind of like 10 things. And most of the time when you search something, it's that kind of things. 10 things what you can do, and that's all. There's like nothing. No one will just like teach if they have no experiences, you know.
It's not about, and I don't think like. In the beginning, I thought like this, that like everything is, there's something, I don't know, if I knew that particular thing, I would be successful. Then, on the way, I learned that no one actually knows what they do. It's just like, especially in the young industry, like video games, it's the know-how, like, to know something, you must spend millions of dollars on data. If you don't spend millions of dollars, you just experiment. So couple of things, I agree with most of the things you said, but I would disagree in small parts. Like, I would not call waste of time of training people, I would say investing with time.
No, I don't think it's a waste of time in particular. I say that not many have a possibility to make such an investment.
Yeah, the companies that doesn't have that kind of thing.
But what we can do, what I saw, what was successful was what Stormbringers were doing. Okay, in the beginning, in 2013, when I came back and I saw that Alex, there was Irakli, Nicholas Gogochur, and there was like a lot of guys who were like investing their time to teach, and I'm pretty sure even if today someone goes to Stormbringer Studios and say, yeah, I want to learn this, these guys will teach everything. They're like, but the problem is interested people, because there is no movement. That's why like it was one movement, like this video, the game jams and stuff, which was like very cool, and a lot of people got interested. Then, well, Stormbringers or Nicholas or other people could not spend this amount of their time to organize this stuff because they had their own stuff to do, right? They had their own dreams, they had their own plans. So like, like you cannot do it forever.
Yeah, for sure. It was that's why we did the game lab. You know, it was like we spent like time to teach the other people, and most of the guys right now that you can like offer a job and or find any other developers or artists or something like that have some kind of the connection. So I think that if you want to boost the industry and the really good professionals here, you need like to give them kind of the free resources. You know, you need to give something like that, like the courses, some kind of the lab or some. It's easy. It's not something like super special or something like that. And the guys, like for example, in my company and other companies, I would totally like think that there will be some guys who want to spend some kind of the time, not like 10 hours a week, you know, like 2-3 hours to teach them, to give some kind of the mentorship and stuff like that.
But it has to be more organized.
Yeah, it needs to be more organized. That's what was the whole idea of the lab and stuff like that.
And your thing, your community gives me like really like big faith of this wave returning, because there was a couple of years when there was nothing there was 5 game jams a year, these guys would not talk to these guys, and I was like, this is like, what are you fighting about? There is no money in this industry, like what are you cannot like split, you know? Like,
it was kind of like
like just fucking do the games like or do this classes mentorship program, because like I myself would teach everything, and I did it in the sound industry, like sound design industry. I had to train people, I had to do it for years and they would fail and I would not sleep because I had to fix it myself, and there would be years and years, and like it took me like around 5 years to get now it's pretty like we start at 10 a.m. and finish at 7 p.m. and even we are surprised about it, but like it took us and
too much time.
And if my company, one company could do it, and if Stonebringer, one company could do it to like a lot of people say that, you know, these people go to these banks and big paying jobs. If you like video games,
there are chances.
There's a big chance you're not gonna leave your studio and go to bank to work, because it's fun. Your life, like your 10 hours a day is fun. That costs more than having a job which pays 2,000 lari more. You know what I mean? Like not being happy 10 hours a day is bigger sacrifice for me than not getting paid.
We are kind of like right now promoting, like heavily promoting the video gaming.
Yeah, exactly. Because like
taking
it's about, especially new generation. It's about fun is much
creativity, fun,
than money. You know, it's not that not everyone is dreaming about being rich or having
No, it's kind of like not being rich or something like that. It's kind of what kind of passion you have. So if you have the passion to be free, to have some kind of the like your sphere where you are free, you can give this kind of all your time to work that really matters. That's not kind of something like that. That's what is.
We were preaching this. You know? In the game jams, we were preaching this. Do what you love. We started doing documentary and talking about this stuff. It stopped, but I think the community, these game communities in Georgia, should preach this. You know. I had like every platform I had, even including TEDx and everything, I was preaching this, do what you love, like, because your grandmother is telling you that you should be a doctor or you should be like a lawyer, it doesn't mean that you should be one, you know, like you do whatever you want. You like video games, it's a legit profession, you gotta make shitload more money than you would make as a lawyer or as a doctor in Georgia, you know?
But it's like hard.
It takes 5 years.
It's super hard, but you have way more, from my perspective of the view, you will have way more experience, way more fails, okay? Let's say like you will have like total like million fail cases, but thing is like it will give you like the experience that no one you can get. And that's kind of the things. Yeah, we are small.
You will have fails everywhere, you know.
Kind of.
I know people. They say like, oh, if I was in US, I was like, you would fail in a day. Like the amount of hassle you have to go through in any other country, it's super easy in Georgia because there's not big like competition.
Well, that is also not true, because if you're working in the games industry,
you're competing with the world.
Because it is not like, I don't know, as bad as it may sound, but Georgian, for example, a lot of in Georgian industry who focus on the current market, I don't understand their expectations from the industry at all. Because like, there is one part that is as wishful as you are, which is great, because I also know a lot of people who, for example, succeeded because of the Stormbringers, and it always was a company that was filled with enthusiastic people who pushed it through. But we also need to realize that in Georgia, the game development industry will not really happen unless people start to be way much more commercial than they are. Because if your industry doesn't bring a lot of money to you, universities will not start teaching this profession. Government will not start to give a hand to other developers until they see. I think like Polish example is one of the most perfect for our case scenario.
Blew one game and then
blew up, and then the whole industry just became wild, because we actually have almost the same approach to this as in Poland back in the day, though.
That's why we should have like a tight community.
About the succession, I would say that in Georgia, it's way harder to succeed than abroad. For the simple fact that less money, because like if I, for example, just stood up and I said that I need a senior developer and I got him from abroad, he would cost me way much more than a local senior developer per se. First. Second, you compete with the world. It doesn't matter where you're stationed, if you're in Georgia, if you're in America, you compete against, well, not compete against everyone per se, but you're working on a global market as its own. And abroad there's way much more, so to say, resources to be handled, to to ask for and so on and so forth. And it's more like intertwined communities because a lot of associations of game developers are way much more active abroad there in Georgia, like take Nordic Nordic associations, take
back in the day,
general
kind of
game federations and stuff like that. They're very like
because
networking
they have
rail.
already their aim, like for the whole society, for the whole countries and all these kind of things. The game, they know that games are not for the children only. It's not only the play. It's not kind of like, oh, you play the games. Something like that. They know that this
Is it
is
still
like
like this? I don't think so. Like,
no. In Georgia?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, well, there's
Interesting
a lot of
point.
industries. Like, I always joke that some of my friends are like, "Are you serious about sound design still?" Like, sometimes they say, and they work as a distributors, you know, and stuff.
Stigma exists everywhere.
I
Yeah,
actually-
but who cares?
I actually wanted to get into that topic actually, which is like the outlook of our society when it comes to making games. Before that though, because I wanted to plug this one in because we mentioned briefly, we talked about some of the problems we're having in the industry and some things potentially we could fix. So do you guys think we're seeing another wave now of the game dev kind of progressing again in Georgia? Like we've been doing some Georgian game industry events, we've been doing some live streams as well. There's some guys that I've seen also organize some game jams. And do you think this is the right direction, or what would be potentially your solution? What do you see as working, and do you think we're progressing enough? That would be my question.
I like the community. I think this gives me a big hope because I think it's returning. What I would do, I would start more preaching, be less pragmatic and more of like, hey guys, let's do this, like more like louder, you know. And I don't know, was like maybe more talks and more like jams or mentorship programs or like
Definitely right
talked,
now. So definitely right now it's like going really way better, you know, because there are like the guys and they are like doing like really good games and stuff like that. For example, like Sandro and Dato are doing like Way of Raid.
Yeah, that's
Well,
This is
amazing.
like amazing game, you know. And
Way of Raid.
This Way of Raid, yeah. So and it's kind of like super awesome things, and it's like we will hit like definitely. I'm 100% sure that we'll hit some point where it will be like the point break for everything. Same kind of things that Poland did, but there is like, you know, this is kind of like really small steps that we're doing right now, but this kind of the community that you're like doing this like Georgian game industry and stuff like that, and these events and stuff like that are pushing. That's what's like when we decided like to give the freedom for other people like to create events like the game jams, you know, back in the days. Why we stopped? Like we stopped because there were like other guys who wanted like to do that kind of thing, and we gave them the opportunity. Like do the game jams, do that kind of events, and be creative, do whatever you want. But this kind of the sparkles, we don't want that kind of the things to disappear, you know. And then we gave, and there was like some kind of the, you know, like the breaks and stuff like that. They didn't know what to do and stuff like this, but it's not like the bad thing. It will happen. It's happened, but it's kind of, we need more, that Beso said, you know, we need like the more people to support each other all the time. Like I'm saying, like everyone, like don't close yourself, like share all your experience and stuff like that. It's nothing that you're competing. For example, me and Beso and our companies are competing. No, we can like help each other. All the other companies, you know, in Georgian game, because we are small, and if you want to get bigger, you need like the bigger community, the better experienced people and stuff like that. Where you can get them if you are not sharing anything, you know. You need like to share your experience.
Share knowledge,
talk,
share experience.
Share, talk, stream, do whatever you want. Like, don't get that kind of the point that you have some kind of the problem and you don't post it on the group. For example, in Unity or Unreal, I don't like, are you a designer or are you a programmer, are you animator or something like that? You have the question, like ask it. Because maybe someone will help you and give you some kind of the really awesome things. That's what I think, that this kind of the field that, oh, if I will ask, or if I will just start talking about these kind of things, it will make me in that kind of the point that I'm not experienced, I have lack of knowledge and stuff like that. No, to ask. Like I really like that in our group Facebook there are like really young people that are asking and sharing the things that they are making some small video games and stuff like that. They have like some kind of problems, you know, like really problems that they need like to solve.
And ask resources. Like as I mentioned, we were talking before this panel, and I was like, if you guys need a space, if you guys need an equipment to do the podcast, which is like my company, I would definitely help this community, you know. And I'm pretty sure that Alex, everyone would, like, with knowledge, with resources, like, because all of us wants to go for us, it's like a dream. It's not about making money or becoming rich or something, because there's so many other things you could do that makes you richer, you know, like video games, like, are like, even though sometimes, like, it's like making a band, you know. You make a band, start playing music, and you don't know if it blows up, you are like a super rich, super popular. If it's not, but it's for
like
us, it's about for us, it's about like, let's make something, let's make something like meaningful out of this, you know, like something that people.
Because if you stop
go for
here, for example, in our community, if you stop doing this kind of things, it will die. It 100% will die, because no one will. These kind of things, what we did, what we are doing right now, what other companies are doing. You go outside, you know, on some events and stuff like that. You talk to other people. You mention that, yeah, we are doing some kind of things. Yeah, we are doing small things, but we are doing. And that kind of thing.
Small steps.
Yeah, small steps, and most of these kind of steps, like really, like helped us like million times. Helped the guys who we are teaching to get the jobs, to get opportunity to go there, work, come, have their own kids that they will just teach the younger one and stuff like that. And it's like going like kind of like small steps, but we are like on the right. I would say that we are right direction. Yeah, with less money, with less, probably less experienced people and stuff like that, but definitely we are going, and your movement is like really helping, and I'm really happy that there should be like the other movements also, like to start and to like grow, and we will probably, everyone in Georgian dev will just support. Even like the cyber sport, e-sport, everything, that there will be like, we are like, everyone is really supportive, you know. I don't think that like people are like really competing with each other, and companies are like head in head, like to no, we just do it. No,
there's no need for that.
No, there is like
let's get to that point.
Yeah,
we start competing
that's
with resources and stuff. Like, I need this guy. Don't
Do you
steal
agree, Sasha? Do you agree with this, or do you have anything to add to that part?
Sasha is kind of like in the marketing, looking at that kind of things.
No, but like sadly it is true. If you want kind of a breakthrough to the industry, this is the only way how it will happen. If somebody gonna shoot it and shoot it hard, and like this is a reality, and this is the end point of it all.
Yeah, that someone needs like to shoot the big
the big thing.
Yeah.
But here's a little bit of problematic, you know, when you are trying to funnel the knowledge to the people in general, because like as a company, let's be honest, if you're, for example, a part of a Golden Fox or Limondo, or like any big companies that operate some profit today, majority of us are under partnerships that will not allow us to speak. Like NDAs. Like, you know, for example, what HappyBet does, and you do understand the NDA stuff, is like with the publishers and so on. So if something like that happens, it should happen on individuals level. Like, for example, you just snatch some professionals from here or there, you get them together and you do something. The game jams are great to encourage people to do the entry into the industry. This is how you do, like, for example, I don't think that a professional, like already a professional established one, will go to the game jam. To them it's, well, not a waste of time, but it's not a challenging experience to them anymore, at least.
No.
And sometimes
we are like two different.
But in the local fauna per se.
I mean, it's mostly indeed for beginners and such to kind of get into.
First, there should be enthusiastic people, and then the other people who would work for bigger commercial companies to generate some profit will come. Unless you have a community of enthusiastic people.
That's the problem, that we don't have this level of
professionals. No, we have
company like
they just don't work in games.
We don't have one company that has like 25 super professional guys and stuff like that. These people are like, some working on Ubisoft, some working on like Rovio, some working on some other companies and stuff like that. Here, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that if you want like to get that kind of the point where you want like the people here, these guys are like happy to help everyone, you know. You need like to talk about that kind of things. I don't think that people knows that the Georgian
this knowledge
people
is
are
very
working
broad.
and doing like really good or something in other companies.
This is my problem, that the knowledge in general is very broad. This is why I'm saying that majority of companies have to experiment and do stuff for their own.
Yeah.
Like for example, as soon as you do the entry, then it comes a problem of funneling the particular knowledge about particular stuff to those particular people. You cannot be like, oh, I'm gonna teach you a game industry, and then you have in a room somebody who's pursuing programming, someone who's pursuing 3D art or like animations and stuff like that, and talk to them about how to sell your game.
No, I
Talk because in majority of cases it's a waste of knowledge. You're confusing the people.
There's no waste of knowledge in my opinion. There's like you learn. Maybe you start your video game next day. I was a sound designer. You know why I made my company? Because there was no company in Georgia who did sound design.
Yeah.
So I was like, and then I learned that I like being an entrepreneur. I like being investing, getting money. Like I didn't even consider making my own company before that. I just
see, but you are talking about a particular case, while I'm talking.
Well, that's how particular cases are made. Like if you teach them how to sell their own games.
That's the point. You cannot apply a particular case to the majority of people.
Yeah, that's what we are.
Yeah, but if you teach a lot of stuff to people,
if a president came up and said, "I studied hard and I became a president," here, encouragement. All should be a you wouldn't listen to this.
We are talking about the things that
Why not?
companies, you know, we are talking about the view from our company, like these eyes of our companies, how we doing, how we are doing it, how we will do, you know. The most of the time, the companies are not spending money, or they don't have the money. Okay, they don't have that kind of the amount of the money and the resources to give the free cakes, you know. That's what makes. So that's the point, you know. If companies only are making as much money as they can just support themselves, that's the problem. That's why you need the companies that are, as you said, like the big one that will hit and blow everything. But before you go there, yeah, it's lack of the experience and stuff like that. Maybe, but there are like the people who are willing, who have that kind of the experience to like share and get the people to that kind of things. No one talks about these kind of things, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying exactly, that this knowledge of the professionals that operate in a particular part of the thing, of the branch of that makes a game dev, should funnel their knowledge particular to the people who are going and willing to do that particular thing.
But what about
because
these
young people? Young people,
young people don't know what they want. Young people don't want. They want to be designer or developer.
That's what I said.
Tell them how to sell their games.
That's what I'm telling you, that young people are usually encouraged with game jams, with general talks and so on and so forth.
Then we're talking about the same thing.
Well, young people, if it's not going there, young people will not really make a profit out of whatever they're doing until they kind of grow up.
So
and they
invite young people and tell them how to sell a game, how to program, how to do sound. Tell them everything and they'll choose what they want.
I didn't want to cut you off actually with that, but it was a really interesting discussion because we need to have these discussions.
I think we need to continue.
Yeah, because that's the only way we can actually find in the end the truth, right? So we discuss it, we bring up these issues, and it's really interesting. Although we have 10 minutes left, so I wanted to get to some interesting questions. But I would actually love to continue this.
It's a good discussion.
Exactly, yeah.
It's very interesting.
We need to have these discussions at the moment so we can teach each other about all these things and, you know, share the experiences we have. So I think it's very important. And actually getting to that, the interesting question from your perspective is, why do you think the games industry should grow in the country? Do you see any benefits, the industry helping out the economy maybe? I mean, for people that are interested.
We should say out loud for everyone.
Yeah, like definitely everyone here will agree that the game, like the whole game industry is like the things that you need like to do. You want like to give the economy boost, you know, it's like the fastest things to do. It's fastest.
So you think it's beneficial?
Right, if you will take the experience from the other countries that have, like, for example, Poland, you know, like I'm talking about the government level, not kind of the like the small levels. If your governments like you see that the Poland, how Polish game dev right now works, how does it like, what kind of the steps it did. Maybe you will think that that's like really, because it's like fucking like really profitable, you know, it's like super profitable.
Then it's good to talk about it because some people don't even realize this or know how beneficial it can be for the country.
When I was kind of studying back in university when I was studying economics, it was always kind of blowing my mind that in this country we don't particularly have any expensive resources to kind of sell. Like, you know, we're living by with like saying, I don't know, oranges, some nuts, but that's all cute and fun. This country doesn't really have the capability to do big factories and so on because, well, it's this big of a land.
Yeah, we are a really small country, but...
And the only turnaround for you, it's kind of a digital industry in general, like even forget games if you wish, like do something on the internet, like because it's like huge turnover in the end, you can make millions of dollars, so to say, using 100 people only.
What? And you are using on electricity, computers, and brains.
Yeah.
We have brains, computers, and
We do have brains and talent, yeah.
some kind of that kind of thing. Not like small level, but there, the up level guys need like to think about that kind of things. You know, the brain point. What was at the end that the police game like pushed that kind of things. That you know there could be the industry expertise who knows what to do, but you need like to get it together, you know, to work them, to see what kind of the problems. Even right here, we four people are having different ideas, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
How to push, how to do, how things are working in our own companies and overall in the Georgian game dev, you know. That kind of things. What you need like that kind of the push, not from only us, but from the whole country, whole government, and you need like to think this.
We're like physically lazy but smart people, Georgians. So I think video game industry is perfect.
That's an interesting point.
Like we can really generate something meaningful.
Yeah, I think so. I also
not only
agree
for
with
ourselves but the whole country, you know. Like represent the whole country.
We are creative, but we're not good at carpeting and stuff like this. You know? Video games can be our thing.
Yeah.
To each their own, right? We're strong in some aspects, and I also do believe that games industry, being one of the biggest industries in the world, it generates a lot of money. So there should be business interest,
growing, you know?
also from investment companies, any other business companies, governments. You know.
Generally, government is bad looking into the long term. I think many things show.
Speaking of long term, that's actually my next question, because we have like roughly 5 minutes left, and actually my next question was in regards to this: how do you see the industry in 5 to 10 years in Georgia? Just what's your opinion in short? What do you think?
Through it. That's my own.
Do you see any changes, any issues? Do you see it would grow in 10 years?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. We will just agree.
We're not going backwards.
No, no.
This happy bet isn't going.
How can you go back?
No. Like, do until you die. It's kind of like you like try. That's what means the game dev. That's what was the other countries. Like, see in any game dev countries, you cannot name any country who just like, we will do this game, and it flew the like from first shot. You know? No, you need like to try. If you get support, yeah, we will try. Me try, Peso, Sasha. We all will try to do that kind of things. You know, that's what makes me really happy, and that's what makes me the passion, this energy, like to do. Yeah, you have like 10 million fails, but this means that there's like minus 10 million steps to like go there. You know, maybe we'll
It's
just
gonna
like
be
do that
much better.
Yeah.
So in 10 years we would see maybe more
Because
companies,
there's
more...
new generation. In our generation, you had to be special kid to know how computers work.
It's
new
a
generation.
different story what we were being through. The new generation is super awesome.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what,
Like, it's crazy how smarter, how more enthusiastic, how more computer smart they are. I don't know
it's
how
kind
to
of like
explain.
the kids, like students who I've been teaching. They are like, how many? Like 12, 20, 14 years younger, and they are doing the same kind of things that I do. You know, because they are like what I've been like learning for example, like 6 years. They learn around in a year, like less than a year.
Goes faster
doing
now, right?
way more better. You know, and they have the passion. Yeah, they are younger. We are not already younger, you know.
We're
they
still
are younger. They have lots of
in our
time.
generation,
I'm already, you know, like on the blink being like, you know, like post-mortem depression, suicidal, and be like, oh, leave me alone.
No.
We're getting there.
You are like seeing the really brilliant people who are entering this industry, and the only thing that they need like the support, get that kind of the information, that kind of the chance. Because here, everyone who is sitting right here, I think that we are the the chance, the guys who had that kind of the chance, you know.
We were
had
lucky to have the chance. These guys have it already.
Already, yeah. That's what I'm talking. That's the kind of things they already have the chance. We had to like
Create
work really hard to get that kind of the chance. Yeah, that's.
And we should make it even easier. Even we should give them even more chances, you know.
Yeah, chances, but not easy way, but the chances.
I don't think there is easy way. They have to like hustle.
Yeah, work.
I always tell even my like students and stuff, you have to hustle this much. Even if you are 60 years old, it's still like this much. You know?
Yeah,
so you have to go through it. Like longer you wait for this part to go through, it's harder because you're older, you have your life figured out already, and you are too lazy to start over, start from the scratch. That's why when you're young, you can invest. You have a lot of time to invest, like a lot of enthusiasm, you know. So that's why communities are important to like push those guys, you know, to have like particular direction, like to.
The young generations, right?
And people are our.
One more question about this, because we touched this subject a bit. What do you think the Georgian society outside of game development thinks about us as game developers or game development? And
the question should be:
do you think this should change as well?
Get alive.
Just a short one.
But it's better. Trust me. Like 10 years ago,
it is better.
When,
it is better.
like 10 years ago, when I was like back in the game, the Polish game, it was like totally different. Like. You cannot like do any kind of, it's like total different. Right now they are getting, because it's not only, most of the people you see in Georgia, like games, casino and stuff like that. Back in the day it was like games, what kind of the games? Then the casino stuff like that. Right now they're like, okay, games, okay, we understand that kind of things, because the first time that I said like to my parents that I'm going like to be game developer, and my parents like seeing me like coding and playing the game, we're like really surprised, because who is paying you the money to play the game?
Yeah.
Who? And I need like to explain.
But we are better now.
Yeah, I don't think
we are better. We are better.
It's progressing fast, right? The mindset.
But that was 90s. That we had electricity like 90s and early 2000s. We had electricity 3 hour. Like
Yeah, it was.
I would say
in the 90s we had electricity.
it comes down to money, you know. It comes down to money.
It's easy, right?
If your neighbor is like, oh, are you serious about it? And you're driving Mercedes, like then they are like, okay, maybe there is money in it. Or if you're like, we have. I would say, like us, guys who liked video games, we had more fun, we had better parties, you know? And everyone was like...
And less hair.
Now we have less hair because we lack vitamin D because we are inside. Like, but it's always, we switched a lot of people to our side. So newer generation, like they know, they do social media. Like social media is even harder to grasp than making a video.
So I don't think that the younger generation ever had a problem. But I don't think we are bad. But we're just like at the same level of stigma as it is currently in Europe.
But we will just like push.
We're progressive.
In the end, who cares? Like, who cares? Like if my grandma doesn't understand what I'm doing, like I'm not gonna stop doing it because of that.
But they will support. Trust me. They will like.
My parents never knew, still don't know what I'm doing, but they always supported me. So I think it's about.
Mine on the same level. I know it's games. No idea what it is,
but
you're doing great.
You need like to,
part of the feeling's mutual.
You need to do that kind of thing, like do the games, like do.
That's good to end with that advice, because I think we've passed an hour. I hope our viewers kind of enjoyed what we've been talking about. It was a pretty interesting conversation. I liked the little discussion going on too. It's pretty nice.
I think we should do more of this discussion.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
that's where truth is being, or like where we agree.
Getting more experience, even for us, like we are searching for all the time experience.
Or kill each other in the end. That's all.
No, it's not.
Let's agree to disagree on things. So
I'm telling you, it's a fun content.
So thank you guys. Thank you for joining us. Now we're going to have the other part of panels in a bit with a different host and different speakers, kind of talking about a bit other side of game development. So, if you guys are interested, the younger guys, check out what these guys do. Follow them online, ask them questions if you're interested. Find them online.
For sure.
So thank you. So we're gonna move on, and let's hope in the future we can meet again and talk about these things.
Well, thank you very much.
So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I think we can go that way and change.
presenting ourselves. So if you guys could tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, where you work.
Okay, I will start then.
Sure.
My name is Luca Lebanidze. I am a video game composer and lead game developer at Posted Play. And we are working now on a game. Maybe we can talk about the games later, right? So maybe we can continue with introductions.
Yeah, actually today I'm gonna have completely different role. I'm gonna just translate whatever Nika is gonna say.
Hi everyone, I'm Nika. Nika Nadiradze, I'm Nika Nadiradze. Join board games, board game გაკეთებული და მოგიყვებით დღეს ამის შესახებ.
Hi everyone, I'm Nika Nadiradze and we are mainly working on board games, and later on I'm gonna talk about our games.
My name is Lasha Shvalidze. I work for Happy Bet. I'm working as a concept artist, and it's my beginning steps in the career as a concept artist. But I've been working as an artist for a while now.
And I'm the dear host of this lovely activity. I'm a lead designer at Rovio, but I started game development journey in Georgia, just like these guys. The first thing I would like to ask is, how did you guys get into games industry? What was your journey from the passion or the time when you kind of fell in love with the medium, and then how did you end up actually being on the side of the creator rather than a consumer?
From my side, I was really passionate about making mods for video games, like Morrowind, Skyrim, like all the Elder Scrolls games. So, and I started to make those mods, and then Georgian game development industry was developing here. Like there started to be organized some game jams. There were 3 big game jams in Tbilisi, which everyone remembers because it was like a boost start for the Georgian community. And I participated in those game jams. And on the second one, we were helping like teams of the game jam to write music for their games. So, and slowly I started to work in this industry because like later I was like I went to study in a master's degree in film scoring and video game music, so I was close to this industry. And then when I came back to Georgia and started working on films and advertisements in Georgia, I slowly also returned to video games. And so me and my partner now in Posted Play, Peso, who was the speaker before, we are like developing this video game Lile, which you might see sometimes it's playing on our background, this video. So this was my journey, how I joined as a composer, and now I'm a composer and lead game developer.
ჩემზე გადმოვიდეთ ხო? მე ჩვენ დავიწყეთ ეს ყველაფერი იმით, რომ უბრალოდ გვიყვართ და რაღაც თამაშები, სხვადასხვა თამაშები. ეს იქნებოდა ვიდეო თამაშები, სამაგიდო თამაშები, უბრალოდ სპორტული აქტივობები, მეგობრები ვართ და აი ამ სიყვარულმა ერთ-ერთხელ გადავწყვიტეთ, რომ მოდი ალბათ ჩვენ ვიდეოთ სადოთ სამაგიდო რაღაც თამაშის თამაშის გაკეთება და ესე დავიწყეთ ყველას რაღაც ჩვენი საქმიანობა გვაქვს, ჩვენი რაღაც მართლობები საქმიანობის და ავდექით და საღამოობით დავიწყეთ შეკრება და ესე ნელა ჩვენი სიამოვნების ვისვით რაღაცა ის არ მქონდა რაღაც მართლობა რომ აი ხა ჩვენ რაღაცა შევქნით თამაშს და მე რაღაცებს ვიზავთ, უბრალოდ ჩვენი სიამოვნების ჩვენთვის დავიწყეთ ამის გაკეთება და
Nika ზოგჯერ რო გაჩერდე რომ დაიმახსოვროს იმასთან.
Okay, everything started with a simple idea. As me, myself, and my friends, we are passionate about board games and games in general, and we had our own jobs and works and so on. And one day we decided just to bring up some gatherings and start working together on some initiatives. So first of all, it was just our passion and interest in game.
Yes. Yes. და ნუ აი ამითი რომ დავიწყეთ კეთება სამაგიდო თამაშის მოგწონდა ვერთობოდით და გართობაში გამოგვივიდა ისეთი რაღაცა რომ გადავწყვეტეთ რომ სხვებისთვისაც მიგვეწვდება ეს თამაში და ამიტომ გავაკეთეთ ეს სამაგიდო თამაში.
After a while, we realized that it was a great source of entertainment, but not only entertainment. We realized that it could be like serious work and initiative. So we decided to establish a company. Like
yes, we established a company.
And we started
published.
We started working and operate our company.
Yes.
Okay. So when it comes to concept art, it's my first ever career, first ever job in this field. I used to work as a storyboard artist for a while. It was a long time ago, and it was more like an internship. And I also did some freelancing jobs. So but it doesn't mean that I have a lot of experience being an artist. I'm relatively new to this field. My passion when it comes to video games came from the art. I always really liked visual sides of things, so I don't like to constrict myself to video games mostly. I also like animation and movies. But it's easy to transition from one to another if you have the skills to do it. So when it comes to video games, it was my first choice in general because when I finished my studies last year in Italy, I wanted to work for a video game studio, but I always thought I would work remotely for another country. But well, my friend offered me a job opportunity here, and also this pandemic happened, so I thought it would be a perfect way to start a new project in my country. So yeah, this is how I got here, and the art journey mine is a little bit tangled. I started as a law student, so I decided to switch careers because I didn't like it. So yeah, this is where I am right now, working as a concept artist in Happy Bet.
What would you say was the difference between the expectation and the reality? So when you got into games, and all of you guys have different journeys, you mentioned you're working on a board game, you guys are working on kind of artsy indie game, you guys I think are working on hyper-casual games.
Yes, but right now we are working on a turn-based game. It's a big project.
Okay, so it's kind of all over the place, different types of games. What was your expectations when you were getting into it, and what was the reality? How was that different?
Maybe we can start with someone else, and I can structure my answer.
ჩვენი მოლოდინი, our expectation, რაღაცნაირ მოლოდინი რომ რაღაცას ვიზავდა იყო რომ ჩვენ უბრალოდ გავთოვიყავთ.
Our expectations, we are not like we wanted to build up something like a big, we just wanted to have this source of entertainment and just entertain ourselves.
Yes. და იქიდან გამომდინარე რომ მე ნელა რაღაცა ისეთი შევქმნით რომელიც მართლა ძალიან გვართობდა და მოგწონდა და ვისაც ვათამაშეთ იმათაც ძალიან მოეწონათ და გაერთდნენ და აქედან გამომდინარე მე გადავწყვიტეთ რომ უკვე გაგვეკეთებინა უფრო ბევრს ეთამაშა და ბევრს ენახა რა იყო ეს ყველაფერი რა.
But little by little we have realized that we have created something important, and we wanted to share this experience and this board games, right? We were talking about board games. Share it with wide range audience and make it accessible to other people, not only like inside of your like community, right?
Yes, right. და აი მოლოდინ feedback-ი რაც გვაქვს, ამ feedback-მა ძალიან კიდევ უფრო მეტი мотиваცია მოგცა, იმიტომ რომ პირველად ერთი feedback-ი წარმოგეცია, ვინც კი დატესტა, ვინც კი აი საქართველოში უკვე ეს იყიდება ჩვეულებრივად და ყიდულობენ ადამიანები და თამაშობენ, ერთი ცუდი feedback-ი არ გქონია. მოწონს ფანებიც ყავს უკვე და ვიღაცები წერენ რომ აი ესეთი და რაღაცა რჩევებსაც გვაძლევენ აი ხა ესეთი გააკეთეთ კიდე რაღაცა დაამატეთ და ეს არის ჩვენი мотиваცია რაც მოგწონს და გვართობს გარდა ამისა ჩვენ თვითონაც ვთამაშობთ და ვერთობით და ესეც მოლოდინიც ჩვენიც ეს იყო და რაღაცა გათვლები რაღაც დიდ ბიზნეს გეგმაზე არ ვქონია თუმცა შეიძლება ყველაფერი მოხდეს მაგრამ ჩვენი მოლოდინიც ეს იყო Okay.
Okay, let me see if I remember what you said. So many people tried our games and we realized that people really enjoyed it and we have been receiving so nice feedbacks from the audience. So it was the main point that motivated us to create it as a business and then create a business model and just make our company work for the audience in general.
Yeah, that's all.
So in our case, like you, we also our expectations were quite low when we started to work on our game because we all of our team, like main team, come from different industry, like it's movie and film and commercials industry. But we really wanted to try this what will come out if we will make a small prototype of this game. And when we tried, like. We really were thinking like maybe it won't come out good or something. Just let's try. But after we went to festivals and after we received feedback was really good. So we started to believe in ourselves. Like we now really believe that this game has to be born. Like, and it's really everyone who is seeing this game telling us that I remember this game. Is it released already or not? Like, and we truly believe now, and we are like pushing totally to start this game, complete this game and release it. But the problem is like in Georgia, in terms, my expectations were also like that maybe we could do it much faster. But the thing is that there are not so many professionals yet. So everyone has to learn. Even us, we have to learn from many things from scratch. So we have to spend time on this. But I think it's a good time investment, and everyone is like, it's really good for everyone.
So the feedback was encouraging for you guys.
Yeah, it was really encouraging. Also, even people who were not related to this industry, who've seen this video, they are like, "Oh, we remember this deer in this game." It's like I have seen this deer in my dream. so even we have heard feedback like this.
Well, if people start dreaming about what you're making, that's a good sign.
So we are like.
Or vice versa, people have dreamed what you,
they saw our video, and then later, some like months later, they have seen it in a dream. In the dream, we had like 2 cases like this.
That's good. Lasha, what about you?
Sorry. Well, I'll speak from my personal expectations because this project is very new. We don't really have much to say. I'll talk briefly about the project. It's going to be a turn-based game.
That's actually the next question, so it's a good segue. You can answer the previous one and that, and then we can kind of go.
So it's a turn-based game. We're trying to make it big. We don't want it to have a very indie feel to it. By indie feel, I don't mean that it's going to be like AAA level. No, we just want it to be like a big playable game, not like a 2D side scroller that might seem that the indie studio made it. We want it to have some sort of impactful. We want it to be impactful. But yeah, we are doing.
So, do you mean, just to clarify, do you mean that you visually want to be more elaborate than, let's say, a 2D game?
No, it's going to be a 3D game, but we are not trying to make it like on an indie game feel, like like for example.
It's not highly stylized. It's kind of more
something like that. But we can talk about it later. When my expectation, I didn't really have any expectations because, as I said, I never planned to work here because I thought industry doesn't exist here. Turns out it does, but it's very little. And most of my knowledge comes from abroad because the people I learned art from are artists from another country, and they usually work for other studios. And when I was thinking about my career, I always thought that I would just work for these studios rather than here. And I also have some experience working here, and it was a startup, but that's a problem because studios are so small, and everybody is trying to self budget themselves. I think I'm using the wrong word. Self-fund it themselves, and it's very difficult because since you don't have very experienced people, that means you need a lot of time to develop, and a lot of time means you need to invest more money. So because of that, you need to make small and quick games in order to raise the money. But then you have another problem. These small games become like a main type of income for you, and then you don't want to.
You don't want to lose it and step away from it, so you double down on it.
So yeah, you really need a lot of investment for it, and that's an understandable issue. But yeah, so my expectations were that it would probably be very messy, and it is kind of messy because I'm the only artist who works on a big project, and it's already becoming so overwhelming because I have to basically create everything. And we are slowly trying to hire new people, understand how to approach this differently, because it's one thing to make a hyper-casual game. Happy Bet works on hyper-casual games, you just make them in 1 or 2 weeks. And it's completely different when you try to make a big game, which has its own game mechanics, unique characters, customizations, and so on.
It's two different worlds. Yep.
Yes, it's completely different. So yeah.
Mika, could you talk briefly about what you're working on?
ჩვენ ახლა მუშაობთ საქართველოს ბაზარზე იყიდება ჩვენი პროდუქცია და მუშაობთ იმაზე, რომ ევროპის და ამერიკის ბაზარზე გავიტანოთ ეს თამაში. ასევე გვაქვს უკვე მომზადებული ამ თამაშის extension-ი, ასე ვთქვათ, ვერსიები, რომელიც უფრო კიდე საინტერესოს გახდის ამ თამაშს.
So expansions.
So currently our main focus is on making our games and our product, right? Can we say like
yes,
it is product
yes.
More international for European and American as well, or just for market?
Well, yes.
So we've been trying to make it more international.
So it's already on Georgian market.
Yes,
it's already on Georgian.
Popular.
Yes.
Here, but you've been trying to make it
exactly
for international audience and markets.
საკმაოდ მალე უკვე აი Amazon-ზე იქნება შესაძლებელი გაყიდვა ამერიკის ბაზარზე. ხა ვაგზავნით უკვე მალე იქნება იქ და ასევე მუშაობთ სხვა თამაშებზე, card game-ის ტიპზე. ეს თამაში ჩვენი board game-ი ბორგასალი არის massive game. Massive game-ის ტიპი არის ასევე სამაგიდო თამაშებში უნიკალური იმითი, რომ ამ ტიპის მექანიკა არც ერთ სამაგიდო თამაშს არ აქვს და massive game-ია და ეხლა გვინდა კიდე რაღაც card game-ები გავაკეთოთ, უფრო პატარა თამაშები, რაღაც საინტერესო, რაც ჩვენ გვართობს და რახან ჩვენ გვართობს, ესე იგი ვიღაც სხვა ადამიანებსაც გაართობს რა. ეგ არის ჩვენი ისა.
So now we are working on different kind of card games project, right? And also quite soon our game can be purchased on Amazon. So it's kind of contract between you and Amazon. So
yes, something like that. Yeah. We have a contract with one company. They will give us opportunity to sell this on Amazon. Yes. This თამაში არის აი massive game. This
new game.
This new game. No. This game that's already on sale. It's massive game, and the new one will be a smaller one. And yeah. თავარი მიზანი ჩვენი რაც არის, უნდა მოგწონდეს და ვერთობოდეთ ჩვენ თვითონ რა.
So the main goal here is to make it more and more entertaining for large audience, and then we like it and we enjoy playing it.
Yes. is most important thing that we should enjoy this game. Yes, that's all maybe.
Okay. It's really interesting. I also had some background in board games, so it was really interesting for me to listen to your story. In our case, in our case, it's like our game is about. Let me tell you briefly. In this game, you are playing as a deer, and deer accompanies the girl. You and the girl, whose name is Lile. You are traveling through a magical forest, and at some point, you start to understand that your reflection in the ice knows something you don't. So it's interesting mechanic of the game, and it's in the atmospheric puzzle game. So you are helping this girl on the journey because like.
It's RPG game, sorry?
No, it's like in the atmospheric puzzle game. So it's like a narrative-driven game. Like we don't have any.
If you could say just a couple of examples so that people understand more what it is like.
Limbo, that's Limbo or Inside, or even maybe Journey by that game company, Journey. And it's like we are trying to tell the story of this game through sound, music, lighting, everything has to be in sync. And what's the story behind our game? It's like it started as a film by Natia Nikolashvili, who is an amazing animator and director, and she created this film. It's called also Lile, and it's now traveling on some festivals. You might see it on somewhere. It's really interesting. And when me and my partner Beso, we saw this movie, Beso actually did sound design and sound effects and everything, sound of Lile. It was like, we remembered this animation really well, and we immediately thought that it would be really interesting to make a game in that world, to explore this narrative much deeper. So it's something like this.
Where do you guys draw inspiration from when you're working on, let's say, either a new game or a concept, or you're thinking on how to develop what you already have? Could you tell us briefly just the process of where do you draw the inspiration from? How do you approach the work? Just to talk about that. Anyone can start.
Sorry, what was the question?
The question was, where do you draw inspiration from?
ხატვის ინსპირაცია, ანუ
ნებისმიერი ქმნილობის, რასაც ქმნი.
ანუ ჩვენ თვითონ ჩვენი ინსპირაცია იყო თამაშის მექანიკა და აი ის მოგწონდა, რომ აი ეს გვართოვდა და მე ძალიან გაგვიმართლა ავიყვანეთ ეს გაგა თურმანიშვილი ხატვარი, რომელიც აღმოჩნდა აი ძალიან ნიჭიერი ბიჭი, რომელმაც აი იმ დონემდე გაითავისა ის სამყარო, რომელიც ჩვენ გადავეცით და ჩვენ თავებში იყო აღქმაში, მაგრამ ჩვენ იმის უნარი არ აქვს ეს თქვა გადმოვიტანოთ ვიზუალურად. და მან ეს იმდენად გაითავისა და იმდენად რაღაცა შევიდა სამყაროში ჩვენი მონაყოლით, რომ აი ძალიან საოცარი რაღაც არტი გაგვიკეთა. მადლობა კიდევ ერთხელ გაგას, იმიტომ რომ სადაც კი მეძლევა საშუალება სულ მინდა გადაუხადო მადლობა, იმიტომ რომ აი იმ დონემდე რომ ეხა ეს რაღაცა თქვა იქ იარაღები არის ამ თამაში, რაღაცა სხვადასხვა რაღაცეები არის, ერთხელ მოგვიტანა ესეთი რაღაცა ნახატი. Okay, თქვი და მე მოვყვევი და
So we have started with Gaga Turmanishvili, and
our artist
who turned out to be so talented a person in terms of visualizing our ideas and the ways we wanted to make this game. So he mainly visualized our ideas and wrote everything and makes this visual part of this game.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, all right. And ერთხელ მოგვიტანა რაღაცა ერთ-ერთი თამაშის დეტალი იარაღი, რომელიც ქონდა ძალიან ლამაზად დახატული და ჩვენ ძალიან აღვრთოვანდით ამ ყველაფრით და
So once Gaga showed the drawing and illustration of the detail of one of the games, and it was a weapon. It's done.
და ანუ ყველა ძალიან მოგვეწონა, მაგრამ უცებ ვკითხა რომ არაო ეს იარაღიო ესეო ვერ გაიხსრისო. მისი მექანიკაო ესეო ვერ გაიხსრისო. ანუ ვირტუალური რაღაც ფენტეზი სამყაროა და რაღაც ნებისმიერ რაღაცა დახატო იმუშავებს ხო რაღაც. ხო არ იმაში ნამდვილობაში არ იქნება. ესეო ვერ იმუშავებსო, ესო არ გამოდგებაო და წავიდა და ახალი დახატა და მე აი მექანიკას ვიხსნიდა რომ აი აქო ესე კრისტალებით იტენება და ეს და აი ესე ესო მუშაობსო ესეო და მოგვიტანა კიდე რაღაც საოცარი ნახატი და ნუ აი ჩართული მთლიანად ამ ყველაფერში და ანუ ვიზუალი არტის მთლიანად არის გაგასი ჩვენი იდეებით მონაყოლით ამ ისტორიებით რომელიც თქვა ჩვენი თამაში RPG თამაში არის role playing game არის და ყველა გმირი 10 გმირი არის და ყველა გმირს თავისი ისტორია აქვს და აი ამ ისტორიების გათვალისწინებით რაღაცები გააკეთა ნუ სასწაულები რა.
Okay, so I will be trying to explain what was the Kaga's approach and idea and inspiration, how he come up with this idea of different details of your board game. So even despite the fact that virtual world has no limits, Kaga wanted and was passionate about making something very suitable for this game, right?
Yes, right.
Am I right?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Well, I found the example actually pretty inspiring. I've had moments like this in my career as well, with some of my teammates across various places where I worked, where somebody you create something and then somebody takes that, runs with that, and makes it much better. They kind of put more life into it than you could have imagined. And as the example which you gave, that you had this weapon where he drew something and you guys really liked it, but then he said, oh, actually that weapon wouldn't work, even though it's a fantasy world and anything goes. And then he takes the weapon back, redraws it, and then explains in that fantasy world through some crystals and stuff that these crystals get charged and then they kind of emit this energy and now it works.
Yes.
Which kind of sounds ridiculous, but this is actually what passion is, right?
Does it mean that like you just fully immerse yourself into this creation and the process when you create, so it's a point, right?
Pretty much. And one thing that as players we can probably we all have our experiences seeing that is sometimes when you play a game, and it can be a board game, video game, it goes beyond this medium. It goes about movies and everything. When somebody creates something, if they thought about some details that may not be told directly, you as a consumer of that feel that they put their soul into it. And these are the details where that matters. Your players may not tell you that specific thing, that oh well the crystals work, obviously that's done much better, but they feel it because the overall experience shows that. Exactly. Yeah.
ეს იმის დამატება მინდა რომ ანუ თუ თქვა აი ამ ინდუსტრიაში სამაგიდო თამაშები იქნება თუ თქვა ვირტუალური თამაშები რაც არის თქვა და საქართველოში რაც იშოვება იოლად ანუ იდეაში ძალიან რთული არის საბოლოო პროდუქტი მიიღო საქართველოში აი ბორდ გეიმი თქვა რა რთული არის მაგრამ რაც არის და არის ეს ადამიანური რესურსი აი ძალიან ბევრი ნიჭიერი ადამიანის რომელსაც შეუძლია ეს რაღაცა შექმნას თავის თავში და მე გადმოიტანოს რეალობაში და დანარჩენი მე მსოფლიო დღეს ისეთი ღია არის და ისეთი რაღაც მობილური არის და ისა რომ დანარჩენს ხორცი შეასხა პრობლემა არ არის და ამ მიმართულებით ეს ადამიანები აქ იპოვო არის ამის რესურსი ძალიან ბევრი ნიჭიერი ადამიანის რა.
So while working in the industry both of board games and video games, the main challenge here is to find right people and have some rich human resources around. So finding people and coming across people who could really put their part into this game is the main challenge here. But there are plenty of talented people. We have to just find them and just get acquainted with them, right?
I want to continue that trail which you started about the depth in games. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like you asked also us about our inspiration, where we draw our inspiration from for the games, right?
Yes.
And actually, this is the answer, like because this world, which was created as a film by Natia Nikolashvili, she put like years of the work of like this work. It's not like some kind of like work which you do like with some mechanical tools. It's work like which you do it like philosophically thinking, and it's shaping itself. All these things which she put in this world, we could see when we watched just a trailer of this animation, right? And this world which she created, it's really gives us this inspiration to continue to create this everything, because as you said also, right, like maybe players, they don't know what is behind there and why it's something shaped like this, but they always feel it. Also, they might not have like some interest in philosophical topics, like in this case, in our case, like Jairani is our main character, Veer, and there is another Jairani who is the reflection of this player. Player might not know why that they are acting differently or something, but the thing is that like they feel it. And also me and Beso Kajarala, we were like because Beso is a sound designer and I am a music composer. Like we wanted to work on a game where the music and audio is has a core mechanic, like not core, but like has a really important part on it. So we were thinking like how to make it, and we said maybe we can try to make this game. And we started, and then the team grow. We became like, now it's like 11 people who already worked on this game, and I think we are going quite well. And I hope we will release the game soon, and people will be able to play this game.
So I'm excited.
Thank you. I'm really excited about your game session.
Well, the answer for me is it depends. It always depends, because I cannot just say where I draw my inspiration from. It depends on the project and what I'm working on. So for example, for this game, we haven't really settled for everything yet. I'm kind of art directing the visual side of it. But I'm trying to implement things that I'm inspired by at this moment. Things like Gothic architecture. I usually try to draw as much inspiration as possible from life. Mm-hmm. Also, I do like other media. I really like fantasy genre books. And I also really like Warhammer universe. And I also try to draw some inspiration from that when it comes to something fantasy, because this turn-based game is going to be in a fantasy world.
When you say life, just to elaborate, when you say life, you mean real world?
Yes, real world. Like, for example, as I said, like Gothic architecture, medieval weaponry, medieval stuff, culture, life, religion, and so on and so on. It's always much better to draw and take from life rather than something else, because it gives you, because you kind of already have answers and you just have to stylize them and interpret them in the way you want. And when it comes to visual side of things, it can be, you can shape it the way you want, like literally and figuratively. You can make your characters look like small balls, or you can, that sounds weird, but and also you can make your characters like very spiky, over hyper-realistic and so on. So it always depends. Because before this project, it was a while ago, I worked in a Georgian film studio. We were doing Natsarkeki, I don't know how to translate in English. Natsarkeki.
I don't think you would translate that. That's kind of like...
so we wanted to make an animation for it, and it's very different.
It's a folk character.
Yeah, it's a folk tale.
Yeah, so when I was working on animation, it's so different rather than working on a video game, because the inspiration we drew from was from old style drawings of Georgian animation and so on. And right now we are trying to implement more real-world style in this game visually, like architecture. We want to make it a bit more realistic, but we want to stylize the lighting. So it's a really big mix of things, and also kind of explaining it verbally is a little bit difficult because it's so abstract when you talk about it, but so concrete when you look at it. So yeah, it always depends where I draw the inspiration from project to project.
You guys also briefly touched upon the state of game development and game developers, so the number of them, and the talent in Georgia. Could you talk more about it? So what's your experience? For example, you mentioned that sourcing talent is difficult here because the industry is in nascent stages, so everybody's learning. You mentioned that there's a lot of talent here. You also touched upon situation here. So if you could talk about that a bit more, what's your experience with finding talent? Who do you know when you look at the game dev industry here?
I can start because the biggest problem I think here is that where people would where would people invest their energy rather than where they should. When it comes to games, it's such a slippery topic for a lot of people, because even I love video games, but I never really thought I would be working here. Not because that I don't want to do video games, because I really didn't know if anything existed in this country. And also, let's take artists, because I know a lot of artists. I know very good artists, also Gaga, but there is one problem. So let's say you are a good artist and you finished your studies, you have a great portfolio and you're ready to work. So when you're going out in the wild environment and you're going to choose a career, you will usually go for something that is good, that is fun for you, and that also pays well. And you know it's reachable and it's not like something beyond you and so on. So when it comes to games, since it's non-existent here, it's not that you don't even search for it, you don't even remember that it exists. So when you are an artist and you decide to follow a certain path, it's much better for you to go in the advertising, graphic design, interior design, architecture, because all those skills you have learned translate really well into that. But also, all those architecture and design skills also translate really well into games. But the problem is that people just don't know that it's here.
So you would say the main problem is visibility of it?
Visibility and also accessibility, because since it's invisible, and also let's say there is a studio and they want to hire people. If they just want to hire 3 or 4 people and there are like 5 or 10 studios like that, that's still very little amount of people you need. So you would not start making a portfolio for video games, you will start making portfolio for advertisement or for architecture or for 3D visualization and industrial design. So yeah, the main problem I think is that people would rather go in a safer path, but also the safer path doesn't mean it's bad, it's great. I think the development of those things is really good. I also really like industrial design. But I think we will eventually get to a point where video games will also be big. We just need one lucky shot. Like in Poland, CD Projekt Red became really big after Witcher. So yeah, if we manage to like hit as a jackpot, so-called, we might go to a really good start and people will start joining the industry rather than trying to find something else or not even know that it exists. So yeah, I think that's the main issue.
In our cases, we also hit that problem, like, right? We also had like posted job where we were looking for Unity for level designer or something like that, and it's really challenging to find somebody here. But what's quite unique about our game, because me and Beso, we are from audio and music industry, and we are working professionally. Like Beso is founder of Postred, and we started this game company in Postred. So Postred is quite established already in films, in commercials and also games. And in this case, we know a lot of great professionals in Georgia who are working as a full-time really good professionals on commercials, movies, and stuff like this. And
you're talking from audio perspective.
No, actually, because we are working with these productions and these people who are working in film industry, right? So we know many great professionals in that industry. So we also, in our team, we tried to take the best professionals in lighting, like best artists who we could find also, right? And also animation. And in this case, what we did with animation is with our animation is done by Animatory, Studio Animatory, which is studio by Natia Nikolashvili, who created Miller, right? And our lighting is, we have a great lighting artist, Nika Maisuradze, who works in Anagramma, and Natia Zarandia, who is our, she's a great artist and she's doing great illustrations, and we have a great team. Like I cannot go now through whole team, but so because we were in this industry already, it was much easier to find people who are already like really good at the jobs, but now they could try themselves in video games. Like but the problem is, like, for now, for example, we are looking for an artist who can think in 3D too, but also like can be good with textures and stuff like this, and work with Unity, and like, because our game it's not a 3D game, it's a game where we have like these 2D
planes, layers,
but the lighting is done in 3D. So the challenge is, like, our lead developer is Becca Tarjania, who has created Neural Bot game, if you know this game. But the thing is, when we are working with Becca, when we are trying to join all these 2D drawings like into one long canvas, right? It's really hard. So it needs some kind of creativity, and artists should think in terms of, like, technically, in terms of 3D, but it can be also good in drawing. So we are looking for artists like this, but it's quite challenging to find.
So that sounds like there are a lot of good artists who are classically trained good artists and are talented people, or maybe not classically trained artists, but yet they're good at creating art, but
in their niche.
Yeah, but the experience is lacking when it comes to technical side, because since games are kind of like the confluence of art, music, coding, design, everything, they kind of struggle in integrating into that technical environment.
Yeah, exactly. And also there are like 3D artists who specialize only 3D. So it's like you have to, and each project, when you're working on a project like this, in case of ours, on yours project, like same situation, it needs specific type of professional which maybe doesn't exist, and they need to spend time to learn this, and it's like each time you are looking for this unique talent. Mm-hmm. But the core thing is motivation. It's because when people are motivated, and there are a lot of great artists and programmers and everyone in Georgia who are really motivated, and because they believe in this product, so in their skills. So it's really core thing which we are looking for.
So the willingness is there, and that's what it's built upon.
The skill is also there, but it's not diverted in the gaming part of it. It's more diverted into other stuff, as you said, like in audio and architecture and 3D and so on. But yeah, that's the main issue, because we have a lot of good people here, but they just invest in different things.
ჩვენ შემთხვევაში როგორი რაღაცა არის in our case is ნებისმიერი რაღაცა ნიშა, სადაც ჩავარდნა არის, თქო, და რაღაცა საქმე გჭირდება და ვერ პოულობ ვიღაცას, ვინც შეიძლება ეს საქმე შეგეცვლოს. ჩვენ შემთხვევაში ძალიან მარტივად საერთაშორისო ბაზარზე მოვიწიეთ და ვინც ნახეთ აქ და ვინც გამოგვადგა, ყველა ძალიან კარგად გამოგვადგა და ყველა ძალიან კარგად პროფესიონალი იყო და რაც ვერ შევავსეთ, ანუ ძალიან იოლად საერთაშორისო ბაზარზე დავამატეთ იქიდან რა. ძალიან მარტივად და ანუ თუ რაღაცა ანუ არ არის მარტო საქართველოს ჩემი აზრით ხა ჩვენ მიმართულებაზე სამაგიდო თამაშზე თუ ვიტყვით ხა სხვა მიმართულებაზე არ ვიცი მაგრამ გონია იქაც შეიძლება ეგეთი რაღაცების გაკეთება ანუ რაღაცას თუ ეს შეიძლება აქ კი არა ნებისმიერ ქვეყანაში იყოს ანუ გინდა იტალია იღე და გინდა გერმანია შეიძლება იქაც ყველაფერი ვერ ნახო და რაღაცები სხვა ქვეყნებიდან შეავსო ძალიან იოლად რა დღევანდელი ინტერნეტ სამყაროში ეს მარტივად ხდება და ეს კომუნიკაციაც გამარტივებულია და შეიძლება აქ იყო საქართველოში და ვიღაც ტიპი კი არ მოდიოდეს შენთან რაღაც ოფისში და იქ მუშაობდეს და სახლში იყოს და ხა სახლში იჯდება თბილისის მეორე ქუჩაზე თუ სადღაცას არ ვიცი გერმანიაში ან ინდოეთში რაღაც დიდი მნიშვნელობა არ აქვს რა ამ რაღაცა პრობლემური ნიშების შევსება ძალიან მასიურად შეიძლება რა
So yeah, of course, in the game industry, there are so many fields and subfields that are making of professional people and certain skills and people who are specialized in certain directions in softwares and so on. But in our case, we found a way out by contacting and with international people, right? People who are specialized in certain fields that you wanted to incorporate in your project. So yeah, just trying to find some people outside of our society and of our country even can be a solution here. Because this industry is pretty flexible and remote, so kind of remote work can be done between different, between team and group or whatever. So it can be a way that we can work with.
So I definitely agree with that. And what about the reverse situation? So you guys mentioned that it's difficult to find people with certain skill set, again because the industry maybe is not as developed, so people build themselves up in advertisement rather, or for example there are certain technical expertise is lacking. But what about outsourcing and outsource potential in Georgian game development world? What is stopping us, or is it from growing by physically being here but working in an outsourced manner for somebody abroad and getting all those, let's say, international level skill set from these projects? Are there people like these, and how big is the opportunity for that?
First of all, like for us, in this case, to continue the thing that it's not new for us working on remote, because our director of this game, who is my brother, who is Vlado Lebanidze, he's like, sorry, mosquito.
Yeah, we have some mosquitoes.
So he is working with us like remotely for a very long time already, and it proved as a great.
So he's not in Georgia.
He's not in Georgia. Yes, he's lead analyst at Google, and he is like we were working with him for a very long time on this, and it proved really easy. Like you might think that maybe the person is not here and everybody should be sitting in one room and it's really hard to work, but like if people are remotely. But now we were working for a very long time like this, and like our artist Natia Zarandia was working with Vlado, and they cooperated really well, so we could create great atmosphere in these backgrounds and levels. And so I think that it's not really a big problem, and this Corona situation has showed everyone that it's possible, that people in Georgia who are really great professionals in their industry, it will be audio, 3D, art, or like writers, everyone can be like part of the teams which are abroad. And also the thing is that in terms of Georgia is a very small country, so not everyone knows about Georgia, and it's quite a problem sometimes. But it's hard to solve now, this problem to resolve, right? For example, I have my classmate, my great friend Anna Kristajic, who is a film composer. She's from Serbia, and Serbia is a little bit like Georgia. But now what's happening in Serbia is that many productions from Hollywood discovered Serbia, and they are starting to move those productions into Serbia and ask them to do sound, some parts of games and stuff.
So it is about a critical mass. Once you get noticed as a,
yes, exactly.
as a source of talent, then it kind of starts exponentially growing.
Yeah, in case of Georgia, we have this kind of unique culture, which is like it can be seen like when you are, for example, when I'm writing music. Even if I'm writing some different genre, some people might say, oh, you have some kind of Georgian harmony there or something. Or like we have this kind of historical thing which we carry with us. And also like the same thing is like with art and everything. So like you said, in case of Witcher, like the whole world, like they were really inspired by this Witcher. It was because it was shaped using that Polish culture, folklore, and it was like really interesting. In our case, Georgia is also has a really deep base which can be explored, but it has to be discovered first. So that's why in our game we are trying to use those elements of Georgian instruments, harmony, like and this underscore, so it can.
It can have that flavor that is unique.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of selling point for Georgia.
The question was about
the outsource potential.
Our outsource.
Yeah.
Well, the
so
company
for example,
I work for, is
for
a good example of it. We work for German publishers called Voodoo. Their main office is in Germany. But when it comes to outsourcing in general, well, there are some issues it has, but usually it's much easier to outsource from the poorer country rather than from the rich countries, and it's because of the price difference. For example, a lot of things are outsourced from Bulgaria. The gaming industry is huge there. I know because one of my teachers is an art director for Pixar. He is from Bulgaria, and he told us that there are so many studios there for game development because it's super cheap. And since it's super cheap, they usually, I think, whole Assassin's Creed series was made there because of the outsourcing part, the technical stuff. Also, India is pretty big when it comes to outsourcing. It's simply because of how cheap the labor is there. So, for example, if I'm making a game, I would rather outsource a lot of technical stuff from poorer countries because I pay less and they'll give me more, rather than if I, let's say, outsource to UK. I might have to pay a lot of money in order to get what I need. But there is another problem with outsourcing. As you said, what stops us from learning from the international standard? And I think the problem with outsourcing is that if you're a good professional, it's a great opportunity for you. But if you're a beginner, there might be some problems, because first of all, when you're new to industry and you try to outsource your skills, you might not give them what they need, so there might be a problem with that. Also, when you're not in a studio environment and somebody needs to explain you something and you do not see how they work and how they synchronize with each other, that might also cause you some problems, because you might get to there is a comfort zone, you go beyond your comfort zone, you might just hit that grueling zone where you just don't know how to improve and what to do, because they demand so much. And you just don't understand because you're just not there. Maybe they're not there. Maybe there is a language barrier. Maybe they're not explaining you exactly what you need, or maybe you just don't have enough experience to understand. So it's kind of a slippery slope. But I think the best thing to do is like these small studios, like Tibet, with the I work, that outsource that are outsourced from another countries, is probably the best way to learn for international standards, because you're already working in a studio environment, and even if you're a beginner, it's much easier to improve because there are other people around you who have already been there and who already have the experience, and they can guide you, rather than when you're all just by yourself and you just don't know what to do and how to work for them and so on. And some studios just really require you to be there, like big studios, because they have their own specific style of working, their own specific style of development and so on, like big studios like Blizzard or Riot Games. They do outsource stuff, but they outsource with very good professionals. So you have to be you kind of still have to be in a studio environment in order to learn rather than just by yourself. So yeah, the best thing probably for this outsourcing potential are these small little studios that help other people to improve and develop. Yeah.
Would you say the number of those small studios here? How many of them are there? Is there some opportunity for, let's say, a young person starting out and wanting to get, let's say, into that what you described, that join a local studio that is being outsourced by somebody and work there?
I think it's the best way to start because let's say I'm speaking from Georgia's perspective. I'm not speaking about other countries because I don't really know what's going on there. But if you want to get into a big studio, it's very, very difficult to get there because you might be a very good artist, but the problem is you don't have any connections, you don't know anyone, and you also kind of have to get your foot in the industry. So one of the best ways to start is to find a small indie studio who also might be or maybe a small studio who is outsourcing, or I mean who is being outsourced by others, because it's much easier to get you going. You're not taxed and overwhelmed because let's say you want to work for a big studio like Blizzard or Ubisoft, doesn't matter. They usually require professionals who have very specific knowledge of very specific things. Like you said, they might require someone who is very good at creating shaders for environment, let's say. You cannot find those kind of skill sets in small countries because we have jack of all trades. Because you don't have gigantic studios who have ginormous amount of money.
So they don't specialize as much. So you basically are multidisciplinary, but you don't go as deep.
Yes, but if you find a small studio, you can always get going because you can learn a little bit more and a bit more and a bit more, and then you also establish connections with other countries. And in our studio in HappyBet, we had this kind of example that two of our programmers were invited in Germany and they work there now. So opportunities will always open up, and it's always to start small and rise up and level up gradually rather than just try to get the best position ever, because it's just impossible in the beginning, or you just have to be super lucky. So yeah.
How would you guys compare games to, let's say, other industries that you had experience with? Could you say something specific that there is to games, or how does it differ from the rest, let's say?
Because my job is my main job is I'm a music composer, right? So in terms of music, it's totally different for games, because in terms of movies, when you are working for movies, you have one cut which is going, it's locked.
You know exactly what is what.
Yeah, exactly, and you are building up towards this cut. Yeah. And this is only one version of music which we will put 2 minutes or something like this. The problem is that in games, not problem, but the speciality of the games is that in games you don't know what the player will be doing at at some particular time. So you have to make this music in that way. So first, it will feel organic. Second, it should portray emotion. Third, it's it should not be too much in face, or it should not be annoying, but also it should create this feel. So in our case, case of Lille, our game, there is that the music, the lighting, the visuals, the story, the gameplay, everything should be in sync, so it will go together. In terms of films, it's different. I would not say that writing music for game or for film is different, but actually completing this thing which you put in the final product is different. And in terms of games, in terms of AAA games, you might need 4 hours of music, or much more than you need for film. And we use tools like WYs and Fmod and some other tools to make this music interactive. so it requires knowledge, and also when we are working with.
So it reacts with player actions, basically.
Yeah, and also you have to understand this too when you are making it, because it's not just like you put some music and it will work there. But sometimes there is also some tendency when people get obsessed with these technical details of implementing this music and sound into the game so it will feel organic, and they lose this emotion. So it's quite different, like, from films. Like, I mean, it's this interactive aspect. It's more close. I think I would say it's more close to theater, video game music, or like to some than to film, because film is locked.
And theater is more dynamic.
Yeah, exactly.
And then games are more than theater.
Yeah, and also it's like more like technical things like optimization and everything. This in film, the creating game is also like a creating film, but you have a little bit different like direction to go, because this world you cannot explore the film and in the game, like, you have to create a lot of content and it should feel organic.
Yeah, when it comes to art, it's also very different, because you can like differentiate. You might have some. I differentiate when it comes to art, because you have design and you have production art. Design is really cool part of the whole process, because you get to design cool characters, environment, props. You're free to do, and you're exploring it, and it's more like a research phase. That's where all the fun part is. But when it comes to production, it's when it gets very, very technical. You have to do turnarounds, you have to show texture, the volumes. The 3D artist has to understand what it should look like. Also, game designer has to be satisfied with the environment, where the placement of the things should be.
It also has to do with legibility, so that players know there's the right things at the right time.
Yes, so yeah, it's a lot of things to do, but when it comes to games in particular, it's even more tedious, because you just have to be so accurate with a lot of things, and it has to be very, very well explained. Like, when I worked for animation, I worked as a storyboard artist, but it wasn't really important to show everything. You could be very loose. The main important aspect was the camera work and the visual storytelling. Yes, it has its own difficulties, but it is not so tedious that you have to like show each finger and how the volume of the texture, how the texture looks like, and so on and so on. And yeah, also illustration is also very different, because you're so free with illustration. You just have to make it look nice and cool. You don't worry about technical details, whether or not this 3D artist will be able to create and generate the character or the prop from it. So yeah, it's very different when it comes to games, especially for production, because you have to be very meticulous with the details.
And also depends on the genre in the game. Some games, as you said, some games might require you to detail something down to the finger. Some games might have a pulled out camera, but then you have to worry about the whole composition. And
I would like to add to what you said about art. So like in games you have a little bit different thing. When you are an animator working for games and you are an animator working for films, it's a little bit different, because first of all, in games you have to create all these animations. Like in our case, it's like hand-drawn animations, so they are like frame by frame. It's not rigid. It's not rigid body. Like so you have to create all these animations in a way so they will transition into each other really smoothly. So it's really hard to get that. And except that, like in movie, you have 1 minute and you can put your animation there. But in games, you have player who is playing this character, and if this character doesn't feel like it's responsive, it's like it's not like what I mean. It will be a game like slideshow, not like a game, like, right?
Interactive.
So it's not to be interactive. And in our case, like our character is Jairan, is this deer. It has many frames, but the thing is that these frames have to transition into each other. But if you paint like the best possible transition, like many frames and everything, when player will do it, it might not be like so responsive. So we have to work on it like really closely and test, then remove frames, maybe add one more frame or something. So it's quite hard. in film you don't have that. And another thing is that these animations, they are also, like if you bring an example of, there is a sword in Dark Souls, I think first one or second one. So you have this sword, which you are holding this sword as a player, and when you hit, the sword goes like this. But when you don't hit, like, and you try to hit, but then you release the key, the animation is doing something like this. And things like this are really important for the player to be connected to with the avatar of the person, of the character which you are controlling. Because if you miss things like this, you will get an unresponsive character, and immediately you lose all the player connection with the game. So,
whereas the viewer is more of an observer when we're talking about movies, there is no that direct I did and they need to respond. So there is no that aspect.
It's like, because like also if you bring a similar game to ours, it's called Grease. It's an animation. It's similar to ours. It's also an indie game, and there you are playing as a girl. And how they solve this problem which I'm talking about, this game is like, it's really beautiful and the animations are really smooth, there are many frames, but the problem is that if you make this person, this character, like with this, which I just said that if you move the character, it won't be responsive. Well, they did creative solutions, so they cut the character in half and they made the lower part of the character like 2 frames, just like these legs, and the upper part where the character is wearing these beautiful clothes which are flowing like this, they are like maybe 16 or 30 frames, and it's very smooth. You don't understand that as a player, so you think that this is one part. When this character is running and this dress is flowing very beautifully, and the character is responsive, so it's an interesting solution. So it requires a lot of work and a lot of work.
And sometimes out of those creative solutions come actually new mechanics. Silent Hill 1 is a famous example where PlayStation back in the day, I think it couldn't render more than a certain amount, but they had to be kind of in a city where, you know, there is a street, so you have to see far, and then they introduced that fog to occlude,
which made it
not rendered, and then that became kind of like the staple mechanic of the game. So a lot of new features and cool discoveries arise often from the creative solutions necessitated by the technical limitations.
Exactly.
Nick, I wanted to ask you, so your case is pretty interesting. You told me you have a furniture business.
Yes.
And then you guys made a game. So how is that? Could you talk about? I think time-wise we have to kind of wrap up soon. I would just like to hear that, and then we can.
სირთულეებზე რომ აი ეს სირთულეები ხდება, აი ეს დეტალები უნდა გაითვალისწინო, რომ ეს რაღაცა ის შეგრძნებადობა იყოს, ხო? ეს ყველაფერი მოდის იქიდან, რომ ეს უნდა მოგწონდეს, გისწორდებოდეს, გიყვარდეს. ისე ამას ვერ გააკეთებ. იმიტომ რომ აი შეიძლება რაღაც მომენტში აიტაცო, დაიწყო გაკეთება, მაგრამ მოგრეზე ბოლომდე რომ მიიყვანოს საქმე. ამას ჭირდება სიყვარული, რაც ახლა მე აი ამ ბიჭებში დავინახე, რომ უსწორდებათ რა და ამიტომ აკეთებენ ამას რა. ამას შეუძლია ეს ყველაფერი ბოლომდე მიაყვანოს. რაც შეეხება იმას, რომ მე ვთქვათ რაღაცა დაწუნული ავეჯის წარმოება მაქვს და ამ საქმით ვარ დაკავებული, რაც ჩემი ძირითადი თქო შემოსავალის წყარო არის. ხო, მეც აი ამაში ჩავერთე აი ამ სიყვარულის გამო რა, იმიტომ რომ მეგობრებთან ერთად ვიწრებოდით, თამაშობდით, გვისწორდებოდა ამ ყველაფერს ჩვენთვის ვაკეთებდით და არა სხვისთვის, მაგრამ რაღაცას რო აკეთებს და შენთვის და გამოდის კარგი, მერე ის შეიძლება იყოს სხვისთვისაც კარგი და ამიტომ არის თავარი მიდგომა მნიშვნელოვანი ორი რაღაცისთვის, ერთი რომ უნდა გიყვარდეს რო აკეთო, იმიტომ რომ სხვანაირად ბოლომდე ვერ მიიყვანს საქმე ეს და შენ თუ გისწორდება, ესე იგი სხვასაც გაუწორდება.
So working with board games and running the company of board games games. It's kind of my side job, and my main financial income also comes from the different business, like your own business with a furniture business. But like my passion and interest and love are the main words here that always motivate me to have this practice in my life and to run this company and just to be so excited and passionate about it and so motivated to make it grow and make it more visible and popular here and so on. Did I too interpret it?
You can do it, it's okay.
I have a question to you. That if you are making these furniture things, right?
Yes.
And did this help you with creating this physical board game? Because it's also a physical thing, right? And you have to
financially.
I mean, I know.
So the experience was working on a furniture business helped you financially to have the freedom to create the game you want. That's a great answer.
It's a great model.
I'm friends with Mark Hagen, who is also board game. He's like a tabletop game designer legend in Georgia, who is living in Georgia. So I was talking about him about the particularities of making Mark Hagen.
Yeah, I know him.
He told me like that it's like really hard to make board games, and you have to put a lot of time into like finding channels in China to build these games, and like there is like this. You have if you design the game, right? You have this game, but there is whole other thing with publishing and this like creating.
It's not so hard. You can, if you like it and if you enjoy it with this process, it's not hard to do this until end.
My question was like, did your craft job thinking help you with the game?
Aside from financial.
Aside from financial. Not really. It's whole absolutely different business type, absolutely different type of business. But what this give me to is hard working. Yes, hard working. My business teach me hard working, and hard working
applies everywhere.
Applies, everything.
Especially as just to summarize what you guys talked about when it comes to difference of games industry from others, is that one is there are a lot of technical challenges because the players interact with your creation, so they're not passive observers, and there are a lot of details that come with that and extra work. But then also, more importantly, it's a passion-driven industry, and most people that you work with are there for passion, and that kind of makes that feel unique and special.
Yeah, but aside from passion, I think we really need to have developed the industry, the game industry, because we can be passionate about certain things and we can be really hardworking and we can do everything for our ideas. But if we don't have, this ecosystem and facilities and infrastructure, I think it should be very, very complex approach if we really want to develop any kind of field.
Yes.
So we mentioned that we have plenty of so talented people and a lot of talent here, but again we are lacking of this special programs and educational part. You mentioned that people lack the certain skills. So again, here is this point of this complex approach and kind of politics of how we want to develop this industry.
Yeah, passion is important to get something going and build something up from scratch. And then after a few passionate people then rise up many others and create the ground for that. And Hadi, as you said, obviously all the efforts that we might be doing, whether it's this panel or GGI or game jams or any other things like these, kind of help that to attract more people get them more into games, raise the skill level, and therefore build up the industry here. I think with that in mind, with that being said, it's time to wrap up. So thank you guys very much for attending.
Thank you guys.
For the great talk. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, we are done.
So Amit.